Hello and welcome everybody. I appreciate you joining us. My name is Brian DeGraw. I'm Vice President of Professional Liability at Hull & Company. We're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation on our digital micro package product. Hull & Company partnered with Chubb Insurance Company to provide an online easy solution for micro and small businesses for business owners' policies. So the whole goal here is to provide our producers, our independent agents with access to a really simple way of transacting small business online through our partnership with Appulate. So as you can see, I provided some information about Chubb and why we selected them. Clearly, they're one of the largest insurers in the world, the largest commercial insurer in the U.S. They also have a global footprint, so they provide services outside of the U.S. as well, operating in 54 countries. Chubb is a highly rated insurance company, both with Standard & Poor's and with AM Best, and they provide a broad product offering. The great thing about this product as well, and the partnership with Chubb, is that they have a dedicated service team for your small business clients. So once you bind an account with us and with Chubb, they will actually provide direct services to the business owners in order to provide additional services, coverage modifications, answer any questions, things like that. So truly we're trying to automate this process, and Chubb's providing us with an outlet to be able to service some of these small business accounts, to take that off of your hands. Next slide. So a little more information about the digital micro package. It's obviously focused with your small business owner clients in mind. Clearly, we're trying to provide different solutions for them, and the BOP product with Chubb is one of the latest ones that we've come out with on the Appulate platform. There really is a very broad eligibility in terms of the classes of business that qualify for this product. There are over 500. I have a list of those eligible class codes on an attachment. It's included as a handout in this webinar. You can see it there. It's called Desktop Aid Chubb Final. So if you'd like to use that as a resource after this call, you can get some more information about the classes that are eligible, as well as some of the coverage features that we're going to be going through today. So this was designed for small businesses that are either sole proprietors or include sole proprietors. They can include startup businesses and home-based businesses as well. And it was designed with a really simple underwriting process in mind, and very competitive rates for this type of client. So a bit more information about the program. We talked a little bit about the broad appetite. It's worth mentioning that as you go through the underwriting process, through the SMART questionnaire that Vanessa with Appulate is going to run through a little bit later on, you'll find that if an account does not fit this online platform, we can simply take your submission and go out to market if you would like us to, and you simply would just have to shoot me an email notification. I always receive an automatic response as soon as a new submission has been entered on the Appulate platform. So if it doesn't qualify, generally you'll see me reaching out to you to see if I can continue to try to help you in placing this particular account. On the quotes, you'll see that all the forms and endorsements and an outline of coverage is provided automatically as soon as a quote is generated. Furthermore, you can bind this account immediately online and you'll receive a policy automatically. You don't have to wait for me or any other service team to provide that to you. This is all done in a very smooth process, which we're going to demonstrate for you as well. We also have direct bill and financing options. That is triggered at the end of at the time that you request to bind. In the quote, you'll see when we demo it that there's some information about the premium finance company, I Pfs, that we've partnered with. And they make that process really easy as well. And on the quote, I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So in terms of some examples of the types of eligible business classes, clubs, professional and trade associations, cultural institutions, including museums, art studios, and libraries, financial services. We write a lot of financial services account through this platform, including accountants. We could also write insurance agencies. We write a fair amount of real estate businesses as well. Retail stores qualify. Service business such as consultants, beauty salons, and photographers. We can also write technology companies, including software developers and telecommunications specialists, and wholesale businesses as well. So we'll talk a little bit about the SMART questionnaire, which we're going to demo. So it was designed by Appulate, along with the Chubb underwriters and myself, to allow for the fast determination of eligibility. So we really front load the questions that would typically be a decline or a refer to underwriter in the beginning of the application process, so you're not wasting a lot of time filling out a lot of questions and waiting to the end to find out if it qualifies or not. You'll notice that there's not a ton of questions to begin with. We really did design it to make it as simple as possible. We also have other coverage options that are available. We have an errors and omissions program available on Appulate system. We could also request from Chubb that they provide errors and omissions coverage or cyber insurance. So that's a great opportunity for you to cross-sell other lines of coverage to your client. We do write in all 50 states, and the product's available on an admitted basis. In terms of the coverages that are offered, we'll go through it a little bit more in detail, the 3 package options that are included automatically. It's a simple process to obtain a quote, select the package you want, pay online, and get a full policy, and really does take less than 5 minutes to do all that. Premiums start at $250, and I talked a little bit about the support team at Chubb that comes along with your policy. Here's just a snapshot. This is also part of the attachment that we included as a handout, but I wanted to give you a bit more information about the 3 package options that you will select one of which. It starts at a silver. As you'll see, there's general liability coverage with a $1 million, $2 million limit. We're providing business personal property coverage. We are not providing coverage for the actual building. So the positive note on that is there's no limitation in terms of where the account is located, or if it's in a wind exposed area, because we're not providing any building coverage, just business personal property. So on the silver, we can provide an additional insured coverage for the landlord and business income up to $250,000. When you move up to the gold, a little bit higher in premium, but you start to get some more coverage there, including $35,000 of business personal property. It's then converted on the additional insured to a blanket basis. Once again, $250,000 for business income. And there we can include higher non-owned auto coverage as well. And then the platinum is obviously the more expensive option with broadest coverage. That bumps you up to $75,000 in business personal property. It's important to note that we don't have the ability through this product. It's designed in a streamlined process to provide just these 3 package options. So $75,000 is the maximum amount of business personal property, keeping in mind this is designed for micro and small businesses. Again, here you get the blanket additional insured, $250,000 in business income, the hired non-owned auto, and then they extend 2 additional coverage features, privacy liability and data breach. and there's also a sublimit for employment practices liability. Next slide. In terms of the process, the quote generated is a bindable quote. As I mentioned to you, simply once you receive the quote, there's a bind icon which will demo for you that you can click on, and you will receive a downloadable copy of the actual policy, and you'll receive payment instructions that you could pass along to your insured as well. And that process, we can go in a little bit more detail when we review the demoed quote that we're going to do. Important to note that you have to become appointed with Hull & Company before you can receive a binder on this business. You can get a quote. You'll notice if you were to try to go and bind an account, the system will direct you through our automated appointment process. If you ever have any difficulty with that, you could always just email me directly, and I can send you the necessary information that's required. There's no premium commitments or anything like that. It's just a kind of a paperwork process to collect information from you and have you sign our producer agreement. So now I'm going to turn this over to Vanessa. Vanessa is with Appulate, and she's the Director of Customer Development. Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you all so much for joining us today. I see some questions rolling through. Keep those coming as you have them. Just type them in the GoToMeeting side panel under the questions section, and we will have a Q&A session at the end. So Brian promised a live demo, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But for those of you that are new to Appulate, I just wanted to briefly explain how we kind of fit into this picture and what we're doing here with Hull. So Appulate is a technology company. We partner with the leading insurance companies like Hull & Co. to streamline the submission and quoting process for all parties involved in the transaction. And we have a growing network of over 30,000 agencies and hundreds of markets, making Appulate the place where agents, MGAs, and carriers do business digitally. And our commitment is to you, the agents. It's to empower you by expanding your markets, automating your workflow, and saving you time and money. So now let's get right into our live demo. Let me get out of this slide deck here and go directly to Appulate.com. So everyone that was invited to this webinar today already has Appulate credentials. If you don't remember what those are, or if you feel like you've never gotten an email about it, just go ahead and click on Forgot Password, and it will have you reset your credentials so that you can log right in. Okay, so Appulate.com/sign-in, go ahead and click on Sign In. And the very first page that it takes you to is where it lists all of your insured records. If you see anything missing there, you might want to check these filters here at the top. For example, I have my latest 10 only, so that's all that's showing in this page right now. To get started with a submission to Hull & Company, all you have to do is click on Add New Customer or Prospect. And I'll do that in just a minute, but I also wanted to point out that for those of you that already have the Accord forms filled out in your agency management system or in an Accord PDF as I have it here on my screen, Appulate's uplink feature will bridge all of that information over so that you don't have to spend any time rekeying data. Again, we're here to simplify this whole process. So if you already have your Accord form, whether it's in a management system or in an Accord PDF, start there and print your Accord form to the Appulate uplink printer option. This installs on your desktop in less than a minute, and I'll make sure to go over that at the end during setup. Okay, so once you print to Appulate uplink, it will create the insured record for you automatically in Appulate, and it will bridge over all of this Accord data so that you don't have to spend any time rekeying it. But we're going to go through how to get started directly in Appulate if you don't have an Accord form. All you have to do is click on Add New Customer or Prospect and start to type in the required fields. So we're going to call this Vanessa's Coffee Shop. And that's the only required field here, so I can keep moving forward. You could, of course, answer the rest of it if you'd like. I like to do that later on. The line of business, of course, here would be Business Owner's Policy, BOP. And it automatically plugs in an effective and expiration date for you, which you can edit. Click Continue, and it takes you to the Q&A section where you'll add Hull as your market. So this is important. You've gotten to this screen here, and it's going to have you answer the questions before you submit to Hull, but first you have to choose Hull as the market that you want to work with for this particular submission. So if you'll notice, there's no market here. I have to click the plus sign, and I will search for Hull from this list here. I'll go over in setup at the end how to make sure that Hull is listed as one of your selected markets as well. All right, so we have our insured, we have our line of business, we're in the Q&A section, we have Hull and Company listed and selected. Below, you'll notice that it says Westchester, and it has a little lightning bolt icon. That means that if you fulfill the requirements and it meets their acceptance guide, then you will get an instant quote, which you'll get to see today. To the right-hand side is a letter indication. This will help guide you through the submission process. So it's going to tell you all of the questions that are missing and required. You must answer those down below before you're able to click on a submit button. Okay? Again, this will guide you through the submission process. So if you ever answer anything that will trigger a decline, it will note it here. It will change the icon to a D for decline, and it will tell you the reason why, and we'll get into that a little bit more in just a bit. These are also live links, so if you know that you're missing a question, but for whatever reason can't find it in the SMART questionnaire down below, you can always click on any one of these, and it will take you directly to where you need to answer that question. And of course, the missing and required questions have a red asterisk next to them. And at the top of each main section, it will tell you how many questions you have left to answer before clicking on that submit button. So the very first question here is asking you to select the package type. There's a little link here to give you some more information, and there's 3 options to choose from. So Brian's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so again, that's just an area as a reminder. The information that we just detailed about the 3 different packages, what's the difference between them and the coverage enhancements that are offered as you select a different package option. So I went through this information, but it's just helpful to know that that information is right there on that what's the difference icon. As a reminder to help you understand and choose the correct package option that's right for your customer.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. All right, so I'm going to go through and continue on with my submission by answering all of the missing and required questions as quickly as humanly possible while everybody's watching me type on the screen here live. So bear with me here as I answer these. ISO class code, notice that there's a little magnifying glass here, and if you click on it, it will actually let you search by description or by code. And if you click on it, it will plug in not just the class code, but also the description for you. So of course,
it's important to note, Vanessa, that if the class code's not listed there, then it's not one that's eligible for this online quoting system.
Thank you, Brian. That's a really good point. So if you're trying to understand what the appetite guide is, then Brian, do you recommend they come here and search for this? And if it's not on there, that's where the process stops?
Yeah, it corresponds with the handout information with the laundry list of eligible class codes. I do fairly often get applicants that will kind of insert their own ISO class code that's not part of the drop down, and that will kick it out because it's not eligible. So if you have to literally enter a new one, you're not going to be allowed to move forward.
Thank you. All right, so we're just continuing through this, answering the questions. I want you to note that based on how you answer certain questions, it may trigger a different response here in this letter indication. So when I answered this as no, it still met the acceptance. When I answered this as yes, it's not saying it's declined. It's saying that it will be referred to underwriting. Underwriting will need to review this. So you will not be getting an instant quote. If it's U referred to underwriting or D declined, I'm going to keep this on the happy path to move forward so you can see that instant quote. Brian, did you have anything to add about declines or underwriting responses?
No, just that if there's no need to worry if your account does get declined or is referred to underwriter. My team does get notified of that instantly. We're often checking in the system to see what type of activity is in there. We will grab the account information, shoot you a quick email that we're working on it, and we'll hopefully provide you back with some a quote, if not some feedback on why we weren't able to fulfill that for you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, we're getting down to the home stretch here. So as soon as I answer this last question, you're going to notice that the letter indication at the top of the page will turn from orange to green. So will the submit button, which is up here on the right-hand side of the page under action. So we want to be able to click the submit button. And now we can do so as soon as we have fulfilled the requirements. So now we'll go ahead and click on submit. So the submit button is right here. And if you're not sure if you've submitted it yet or not, it's your first time going through Appulate, you can always check the status here. So the status says not submitted yet. We have not yet clicked on that submit button. As soon as I do so, I'll click the submit button now. Then the status will change accordingly. And of course, this will provide you with an instant quote, which will pop up on my screen here. We'll be able to open that up and Brian will walk you through it. So it's very important not just to fulfill the requirements. You're not done there. Once you fulfill the requirements, you need to decide to submit that over to Hull. All right, so we've gotten our quote back. You can see the status has changed to say quote prepared. And we now have Vanessa's Coffee Shop Platinum Business Package, which we can click on. It will open it up here in a PDF. And I'm going to scroll through this as Brian says a few words about what you can find on here.
Yeah, I just want to reinforce, I mean, even with your detailed description of how the process works as you were doing it, it didn't take us 5 minutes to get to this point where we have a quote. If you'll use that Accord Uplink feature that Vanessa talked about, it streamlines the process even more. So it really is a fast system that gets you to this point. That's really why this was designed in this way. So here's my cover letter. Obviously, it includes my contact information. It gives you the premium up front. It tells you what the commission is that we pay you. Just some additional information about the carrier. Pacific Indemnity Insurance is the paper that they write this on. It's an admitted policy. And some additional information about the direct bill feature of this as we keep scrolling down. Here's the quote page section with Chubb Insurance Company. It lists the name of the account, the location of the account. Here's some coverage offerings. If you scroll up just a little bit, Vanessa, nope, up, not down. There you go. So it shows you the aggregate limit, includes products completed operations, personal and advertising injury, damages to premises rented to you, medical expense limit. I want to point out that, again, with really this being designed for small businesses and a simple way to obtain that coverage, we can't alter through this platform any of the coverage limit options that are offered up top. If it wasn't part of the package that you selected, you'd have to choose a different package. And if it's not listed on there, then it's not available, and that would require us to go outside of the platform in order to fulfill some coverage enhancements that you might be looking for. So here under the property section, it includes, because this was a platinum package, we selected $75,000 in contents coverage, the business income of $250,000. You'll see that as Vanessa scrolling down, the hired and non-owned auto liability coverages are there, privacy and employment practices coverage. Here's where some coverage endorsements, blanket additional insured, and the associated premium with that. If you didn't want that blanket additional insured and wanted to save money, you could take that out. And then here's the nitty gritty of all the endorsements that are included in the coverage forms sections. So here's a little bit more information as Vanessa is scrolling about Imperial Premium Finance Services, I Pfs. So what they've done here automatically is they show you exactly what the down payment's going to be, along with the monthly installment amount, as soon as coverage is bound. So The premium finance agreement's been automatically prepared, and it'll be available to the insured for electronic signature once you do bind coverage. An email notification is going to be sent to the insured to sign the document, and a link to that in that email to enter the agent e-sign information to electronically sign that and submit it for processing. Also, I Pfs will send written acceptance once it has been accepted, and you'll be notified of that. So you're kept informed along the way, so you can confirm exactly when coverage was when the policy was paid for, so that you're not in the dark about that information. Also includes, you're welcome to contact I Pfs. The number is provided there for you if you have any questions, or if your client has any questions, they can contact them directly as well.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. All right, so we have our quote. I just want to point out that you can actually share this with your insured right from within Appulate by clicking on this send by email icon on the right-hand side over here in the action column. So if you click on this, it will have you input the insured's email address, and you can send this right over to them. It plugs in a signature for you, but that's editable. So shoot that off to your insured, and if you would like to move forward, as Brian mentioned earlier, it will take you through the appointment process if you are not yet appointed with Hull. So you'll click on this bind button, but it says in order to bind the quote, you're required to get an appointment with this market. Click this button to learn more. Once you click on that, you'll click on Get Appointed, and it will list the steps that you need to take in order to get appointed with Hull. So I've already prepped this so that you're not spending too much time just staring at my screen as I'm putting this all together. But essentially, it lists all of the items that are needed here, and you'll simply drag and drop the files, or you can click on Select to browse your computer. I'm going to actually do that here so that you can see what that process would look like. So once we click on that W-9, I just want to point out that it's very important to also choose the type here. So once you choose the type, then it kind of checks off that box, and the system knows that you fulfilled that requirement. Okay, so go ahead and click the Save button. So make sure that you've attached all the required documents and electronically signed the appointment agreement. You'll click on the Sign button, and it will take you through a straightforward e-signature process. Once everything has been completed, then you'll be able to click on Request Appointment. Again, if you don't choose the right type from the drop-down menu, it might not let you go through this next step. So once you have done all of that, click on Request Appointment, and Brian is in the background waiting for that request. He's going to go ahead and mark me as appointed so that we can continue on with the process. And you will be notified via email once you have been appointed, because at that time is when you'll log back into Appulate and continue on with the bind. Brian, let us know when we're good to go there.
Yep, so in the background here, I found your request for appointment. It's pending request, and I'm going to switch that over to approval. Just to remind everybody, you only need to do this once, and you should be good to go, Vanessa.
Okay, very good. So at this point, you would have received email notification. You can log back into Appulate. Remember, on this insured page, it will list all of your insured records. Once you've located the record that you want to work on, you can go right into the business owner's policy using this shortcut here. Once you click on it, then you will have a button here to bind. Okay, so go ahead and click that bind button if you would like to continue on, and we're not going to bind it here because we're live, but the status will go ahead and change to say bound. And then Brian, did you want to talk about what happens again after the bind?
Yeah, so you'll receive information about the premium finance options. A link will be sent to your insured directly. Once it's been paid, you'll receive a notification that it's been paid, and obviously your policy documents will be listed underneath, just as the quote documents are here. You can also scroll, point over to the forms section and click on that in order to get a copy of the policy there. under the docs section. But yeah, the policy will immediately get downloaded, and you'll see a link to it in the system directly.
Very good. So just to recap the process here, you could go ahead and get started right from within Appulate on your submission by going to the very first page and clicking on Add New Customer or Prospect and following the prompts. Or if you already have an Accord form filled out, just bridge it over using our Appulate Uplink tool. You'll select Hull as the market. You'll fulfill the requirements and click on the Submit button for your instant quote. If you want to move forward with that, you could go through the appointment process at that time if you are not yet appointed, and then go ahead and move forward with the bind. And you were able to see that actually a submission should take you less than 5 minutes. And if you have any questions or issues, the Appulate team or Brian and the Hull & Company team are happy to help you out with those. All right, so I also wanted to show you how you can get appointed without doing a submission, and then I'm going to take you through setup, and then we'll open it up for questions. So just bear with us here another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll get to your questions. So I just wanted to point out, because we get this question a lot, can we just go ahead and get directly appointed with the market now before we even have a submission, just so that we can get that taken care of? And you absolutely can. So if you aren't, don't worry about it. It's a part of the process, but if you want to go ahead and get ahead of that, you certainly can. Go ahead and log into Appulate, and here under Markets and Selected, you'll see Hull & Company, Horsham. So go ahead and select it. And there's an Appointment tab. Navigate to the Appointment tab, and it's taking you now through the same screen that we were at earlier. So you can come in here anytime and get appointed with Hull. You'll just have to electronically sign the appointment agreement and attach these forms here that are requested, and then you can click on Request Appointment. All right, now let's go over setup. So again, everyone that was invited to this webinar has Appulate credentials. So to sign into Appulate, you can just go to appulate.com/sign-in, type in your credentials and click on Sign In. Remember, there's a Forgot Password link here that you can use. If this invitation was forwarded to you, you can always create an Appulate account by clicking on Sign Up Now. Once you're signed in, then you can go to Tools and Appulate Uplink for those of you that have Accord forms in a management system or in an Accord PDF that you want to bridge over. Then you'll download this one time. You'll just have to download this one time here, and it's a tool to bridge over your data to keep things easy for you and streamlined. An Appulate Uplink works with any agency management system, so select the appropriate one from the list here before the download, or choose the other option. Click on the link here, and it will install on your desktop as a print driver in less than a minute. So we did this, we chose the print driver option because everybody knows how to print from their computer. So whether you're in your management system or in your computer just working off of PDFs, just go to Print Any Document, and once this is installed, you will see the Appulate Uplink listed as one of your printer options, along with like your home or your office printer. If you need more detailed instructions, you can click on this link, and you can always email support@appulate.com if you have any questions. All right, so download Uplink. You will also want to make sure that Hull is listed as one of your selected markets. So under Markets and Selected are the markets that you've chosen to work with in Appulate. These are all of the markets that you're appointed with, or markets that have an open brokerage model that you can submit to. So those will be listed here. If you're missing anyone from this list or would like to add anyone, you can go to Markets and Available. So if Hull wasn't on there, you would type in Hull here under Markets and Available, and you could add them here. Okay, let's see here. That is it. That's all we need to do as far as setup goes. So let's go ahead and start answering your questions. And in fact, while we do, I'm going to have Brian's contact information on my screen here, so that if you think of any questions after the webinar, or if you need help, or if you want to get appointed, go ahead and feel free to reach out. Okay, so the first question here for you, Brian, is there an option for direct bill?
Yep, so we covered that, right? The I Pfs is the premium finance company that we chose to include with this package process. So you have to use them, but there is a pay now feature that allows the client to pay everything up front. The billing is handled obviously directly through IPFS, and you'll be able to have your client pay the full amount, or they'll also see the available premium finance options and the payment plans that IPFS offers.
Wonderful, thank you. The next question here is, will we be able to take or access this recording video for future references? Yes, give us till the end of the day, and this will be posted on Appulate's YouTube page at Appulate, or as well as our help section. So we'll get this loaded, and you can always reach out to Brian or myself, and we can send you a link as well when that's ready. The next question is for you, Brian. Is I Pfs charging interest?
Yeah, there is an interest rate associated with the premium finance payment plan option. So that yes, there is a small interest rate that's charged for that.
Okay. The next question also for you, Brian, is what if you are appointed but Appulate says get appointed?
Well, if Appulate is saying get appointed and you're talking about in the system, then clearly there's a disconnect between your approval and what Appulate is showing, and we'd have to contact support to get some assistance with that. I think I'm answering that question correctly.
Yeah, I think that perhaps Brian and you can get together and maybe see if maybe you are appointed and it just needs to be marked in the system, and yes.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me either via email or call me. Let me know who you're with. I can look in our system as well, so because as soon as we appoint you in Appulate, you've been appointed in our system, and I'd be able to find you in there. And then if there's a problem, then I can get that appointment taken care of, and also reach out to Appulate to make sure that it's corrected in their system.
Okay. This next question, I believe, is for you, Brian. How to add AI and generate COI? So
we don't, certificates of insurance are something that you would handle yourself in terms of adding an additional insured. So the 3 package options would include, as I've mentioned, on the silver, just for the landlord. So there's a section there where you could enter the landlord's information. You could always email me that information as well, and I could get it added for you. Otherwise, it's a blanket additional insured endorsement on the bronze and the platinum options, and may have confused those a little bit, but in any event, the 2 higher options would include a blanket additional insured, and then you could issue the certificates yourself.
Very good. So there's a couple of questions here that I'm going to combine. Are there monthly fees to use Appulate, and can you order loss runs through Appulate to do submissions? So very good questions. I'll go ahead and answer that. So to use Appulate to submit to Hull & Company is absolutely free. Hull & Company is a partner of Appulate. They've covered the cost for you to do business with them in an easier way. So if you're using Appulate through one of our partnered markets like Hull, then it's free to use. There are additional features like a loss run requesting feature where there is a small fee for our premium feature. And if you have any questions on that, you can always reach out to Appulate. The email for that is agencysales@appulate.com, and I'll make sure to include that in the chat section here in just a second. Let's see here. Does the business PP include build out like internal walls and fixtures, Brian?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And the next question here is, what is a fair amount of time regarding password reset with Appulate? Pretty instantaneous. I would give it, maybe 5 minutes or so. Check your spam folders, and if you haven't received it, always you can email support@appulate.com. I'll be sure to type that email address in the chat section as well. So let's get those going. agencysales@appulate.com and support@appulate.com. So go ahead and you can get those from the chat section. All right, if already doing business with Hull, do we still licensing? Do we still need licensing?
Great question. I get that a lot. So we have our appointment process is based on our individual profit center offices. So if you've not spoken with Hull and Company in Horsham, which is where I'm based, if you haven't talked to me or somebody else from our office to get appointed, then you're not appointed with us. That being said, if you're appointed with any one of our other offices, that process is a lot more simple. We can reach out to that office, get the information you've already provided to them, and then review it, make sure it's up to date and has all the information that we need, and can appoint you automatically. So just because you happen to be appointed with, for example, our Fort Lauderdale, Florida office, doesn't mean you're appointed with us and vice versa, but the process is a lot more simple if you are.
Very good. Next question here. Is there a way to have a client complete from your own agency website? So there is actually a way for you to, we call it the reverse portal. There's a way for you to actually kick out the questions that are being asked by Hull to your insured. Let me see if I can show you this really quickly because it's actually really neat and I think a lot of you would enjoy seeing that. We try to keep our demos very straightforward because a lot of you, it's the first time that you're looking at it. This might be a more advanced feature, but again, a good one. So let's go into here.
Yeah, it's a great feature.
All right, so we are, let me move this out of the way. We are here in the insured record that we were working on earlier at any point in time. So when you chose Hull & Company and you saw all of those questions that were being asked, at that point or at any point in time, you can click on the Send Questionnaire to Complete option. And here you'll be able to choose what questions you want them to see. So maybe you only want them to see the required unanswered only, or maybe you want them to see all of it so that they can review and make any edits or answer any additional questions. So there's different filters here essentially that will change what they're able to see on their end. And once you click OK, it's going to ask for an email address, and then it will shoot out an email to your insured. They do not have to have an account created. They don't have to, obviously pay for anything. They just click the link, they answer the questions, and when they click the complete button, it will trigger a notification for you, and it automatically plugs their answers right into the smart questionnaire, so you don't have to spend any time rekeying it. And before you get scared about your insured answering these questions for you, everything is tracked in the activity log. So if you go to the activity log, it will tell you who actually made any changes, and it will list all of the changes or the questions that they've answered, which you can, of course, go back and override if you think they maybe picked up on that incorrectly. Very good question. Thanks so much for asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add on to that as well, and just talking about the innovation with Appulate. While that's a great feature to offer to the agents to be able to take advantage of, it's not exactly what the attendee was asking, and we've been in talks with Appulate, and our goal is to provide a solution like they've asked about, which is to essentially allow the link to Appulate to be hosted on the producer's website so that their prospects could be directed directly to the system themselves, and they could, quote, bind and issue the coverage themselves without your involvement, so to speak. And while that's not available yet, our goal is to have that type of feature down the road, and it's a great question. It'll be a great benefit at some point. Part of the challenge is developing this platform in such a way so that it's even more user friendly, without a lot of the technical questions that brokers and agents are used to answering. So we just need to have it designed in such a way that your clients can easily manage through the process without any difficulty. So hopefully some updates in the future on when something like that would be available.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Next question for you. Are grocery stores meat markets an accepted risk for the BOP program?
It's It's a great question. Off the top of my head, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. And I'm making some notes to do that. If you want to email me directly, or Vanessa, if there's a way for you to share who asked that question, or we could add it when we send the answer when we send out the demo, I can address that.
Okay, thank you. Will do. We'll make sure to get that question answered for you. There's another question here. It says wind in Florida.
Yeah, so I addressed that. I tried to address that up front. We're not providing any building coverage, so there's no eligibility issue with coastal exposures, and so there's no. There's also along with that no wind coverage.
We have a pro user here who is actually answering the prior question for us. So it's on the list on the list of acceptable classes in regards to that question about the meat market. So it is on the list.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
I only have 499 class codes memorized, so it's that one I missed.
All right. I think we've gotten through all the questions. Last call for any questions? All right. Very good. Well, if you have any additional questions after this webinar, you can always reach Brian. His contact information is still up on my screen. If you have any questions in regards to Appulate, if you need any assistance, you can always reach out to support@appulate.com. I'm going to toss this back over to Brian to say a few closing words, but Brian and everyone, thank you so much for having me on the call today.
Yeah, Vanessa, thanks so much. You really do a great job with these, and hopefully everybody that participated, enjoyed the presentation, find it useful, and I guarantee you'll find it really simple to use. I'm always looking for feedback. Vanessa is as well, so if you want to shoot me any additional questions or comments about the product, the process, we'll take those into consideration and I can provide that feedback directly to Appulate to consider as they continue to innovate this platform so that we can incorporate some of that information. But once again, thanks so much, everybody. I hope you use the system, you enjoy it, and don't hesitate to reach out to me. Have a great rest of the day.